Welcome to Fishing Without Bait, a lifetime without definitive expectations, where we help people explode into their lives through full impact mindfulness. The only entrance fee is the honesty, open-mindedness, and willingness to try. If you have a few particles of those, welcome aboard. You're on your way. I'm Jim Ellermeyer. I'm a behavioral health therapist, continuing our conversation with Chris Whitlatch, author of Notorious Pittsburgh. When most people think of these things, they think of a New York City, they think of a Chicago, they think of a Philadelphia.
You know, Pittsburgh has that history, even though we're not as large as New York or Chicago, but we have a long history here. We're one of the older cities in the country, right? And we grew very, very fast, thanks to coal, thanks to steel, thanks to the natural resources that we have here in Pittsburgh. It made it it made this area a very attractive place. And so it attracted a lot of money here. There was a lot of money made here in Pittsburgh. And because of that, if you've got that infrastructure in place, well, you've got all the notorious stuff happening as well.
So the common thread throughout your book was all of these activities and these murders and these beatings were all based on greed.
Yeah, I think you could go back to that, and even if it wasn't greed, it was the desire to put your own needs ahead of others.
Yes. What surprised me, Chris, was unlike some of the other Cosa Nostra mob stories that you read about, these guys were the owners. These guys were the bosses of these businesses, and they did the dirty work themselves.
Yeah. It was never proven. It was never admitted to by Henkel, but you could probably, take that dotted line across and say he might have been a contract hitman here in Pittsburgh for the family. But there's no proof or evidence of that. And yeah, most of the time when you hear the story, George Lee was likely, assassinated wasn't by Nick DeLuca, but it was probably by several people connected with Nick, friends of Nick or relatives of Nick is a possibility too. And, because he had the most to gain from it. So, but yeah, when they got involved, when Nick DeLuca went after Tex Gill, to try and take control, he had the arsenal, he had the guns, he was gonna, ride out after him, basically. So yeah.
So when we're talking about all this psychology, we're talking about the baser aspects of human beings. And I think we all know that most people are good up doing the next right thing. But it's these type of stories that fascinate us and titillate us.
Well, I think, you see that with true crime, and it's so there's a line, right? And there's a line that you won't cross in your own life, I won't cross in my own life. But have I had the fantasy of what it would be like to rob a bank? Well, yeah, that sounds fun. You see it, you see it on movies and things like that, and you'd never do it. It's those people that are willing to cross that line into that gray area.
People like to read about pirates. They don't like to read about people in the Navy.
They make the best characters.
You bet they do. So what impressed me so much, Chris, was the attention to detail that you went into in this book. So tell us about the process. I'm sure that this just didn't come right out of your head.
Even after reading some of these stories and taking the notes and things like that and starting to tell these stories on the walking tour, I didn't think it was ready to be part of a book unless I dug a little further and brought out, maybe more of that data or facts that would say, oh yeah, this is a logical hypothesis for this story. But also, who are these people? We could say that, I could reduce Tex Gill to, maybe a three-word description. That would not do Tex justice, right? There was more to Tex than just the illegitimate businesses that he was part of. There's more to, George Lee. There's more to any of these guys. And then when you started to dig a little bit further, you got even richer stories out of it. And that's what I think was important to me to bring to the book. So I just didn't want to take what I was telling as a story and put it in a book. I wanted you to be able to go even further with that story. And that's why I undertook, longer research and even, delayed putting out the book for, a couple years, because I wanted to dig down as deep as I possibly could.
So Thomas Edison said the genius is 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration. So tell us about the process of the idea to a finished product.
Yeah, so Notorious Pittsburgh started just as a passion. I think it was shaped by my work at the Pittsburgh Foundation and what the work that the Cultural Trust had done in those 25 years. At that time, it's a lot longer now. It was meeting people like Bonnie that encouraged you to take that next step. It was being willing to sit down and read and listen. That's that perspiration part of it. It was that ability to start and stop on this particular project. This one, I hope it gets easier after. This one you'd think it'd be really, really easy for me to write the book, because I was telling the stories for about 2 years before, right? And had already done a lot of the research for other projects, and it wasn't. That process is still difficult, to write the words in a way that you will like to engage with them, so hopefully it gets easier. I don't know that it will. I don't know if it ever does for anybody, but it was what a lot of people, I think, would classify as a labor of love. It won't be my last. Definitely not. I want to go to the next thing, but I'm so proud that I was able to take a project that had so many moving pieces and bring it to a fruition in the end.
Well, the Cultural Trust not only provided you with a great deal of inspiration and motivation, but it also had a great deal part in the Renaissance part of Pittsburgh in purchasing a lot of these properties to keep them from further.
Oh, absolutely. And don't discount the work. It took them long hours and years. In some cases, I was still doing the walking tour, Jim, in the red light district, and where the improv comedy is now located. That building was empty for a good part of when I started doing the tours, and you could still see massage parlor stenciled, basically faded out on the second floor window. And so I would say, hey, here's one great example of what a parlor would look like. I can't do that anymore because of that persistence by the Cultural Trust.
So
And that's what it takes.
Tell us about some of the roadblocks you faced. Tell us some of the nights that you thought, am I doing the right thing? Do I really want to go on?
Well, you sit there and you doubt yourself in so many different ways. I say, well, who wants to read this stuff? Well, who's going to buy this? Especially, you might know some of these stories. You might know that Biddle story. They actually turned that one into a movie. That jailbreak was a movie with Mel Gibson in it. So there you go. You might know some of these stories. Why would you want to do that? Or why do I want to devote a portion of my life to this? And then you go back and you say, because you like it. You want that sense of accomplishment. You've always wanted to do this. And so, if you can get through that doubt, that fear, rejection, and there are people that will hate this book, and I try not to get so caught up on any reviews that anybody posts or anything like that, because it's not going to connect with everybody. But in the end, that sense of accomplishment to just finish a project that started 7 years ago, really, that idea was
7 years?
Was 7 years until that book came out, and it came out in many different iterations, before it was in a book as well. So
Are you proud of it?
yeah, I am.
Excellent.
And I'm proud of myself for being able to get there, because it's very hard to manage through those ups, those downs, to get to a finished project.
Whenever people come up with a passion, where people come up with an idea, there'll be just as many people out there telling them why they can't do it.
Yes. I love when you tell me I can't do something. That is one of those things, and I think I hear that from other people with bipolar. If you tell someone like that you can't do it, I'll find 50 ways that I can do it. And I've heard that a lot in my life, and I think that's one of the things that we get in this particular area, this Appalachian region, is we get that oh, you shouldn't, or you can't, or you won't, or you'll be disappointed. And that's part of that that ancestral loops that we have to break out of, for both the good of us, but also for the good of this community, right?
When I have meetings, Chris, I make it clear I'm not interested in how we can't do this. I'm only interested in how we can.
Yeah.
You can leave the other things outside of the room.
I say something similar to that. Don't tell me we can't do this. Tell me this isn't the way that we should do this, and here are some other ways we should consider. If you say we're not going to be able to do this, well, then come with some ideas of what we can do, right? Because I dig other people's ideas. I get excited about other people's ideas as much as my own. So
we can just feed off positivity just as much as we can get dragged down by negativity, Chris.
Yes. Yeah. And if we can bring that, to our lives,
plant flowers and pull weeds in your life.
Everything that we do in our life, if we can bring that positivity to our lives, that's going to benefit everybody around us.
There are people who could walk past a milk cooler and turn every milk in there sour. I often tell people, I say, well, here's the type of attitude this person has. You could tell them that you just won the lottery, and they're going to tell you how much taxes you have to pay.
I hear that a lot, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And sometimes, Chris, we just have to look at people and say, thank you for your concern, and walk away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And being strong enough to being able to do that, and not, like you said, not let it worry you that happens, because it's going to happen.
Yes,
but if you're present with yourself, then you can walk away from that. Right?
What we're talking about is confidence.
Yes. Yeah.
Confidence and identity. Confidence and an identity formation. So what we like to do is we like to share with people that they can get here from there. And you've certainly proved that in our previous podcast, Chris, and you're certainly demonstrating that tonight with your going forward and having your baby a published book.
Well, and then that's what I would encourage people to, is don't stop ever. Don't stop learning, don't stop listening, don't stop doing.
I like that. Yeah. I like that a lot. So how can a person get this book?
Well, right now, Notorious Pittsburgh is available from Amazon, so you can purchase it both in ebook form and print form. From there, it's also available from Ingram Books. Hopefully, it'll start showing up in your local bookstores. We're working on that, but if anybody can help me out and introduce me to a local bookstore and help me get the book there, that would be great as well. What's cool is I will be doing what we're calling the Notorious World Tour, starting next month in May and going through October so far. and I will be showing up at your local libraries. They have been wonderful about hosting local authors like myself. So come bring your book. I'll sign it for you. Be happy to. Or if you don't have the book, you can come and purchase one there. Or in many cases, you'll be able to check it out. And, that is, I don't know that an author geeks out as much as I do about actually seeing their book in a library, but man, I thought that was cool. That's cool. So yeah, so definitely come out, say hi, get your book signed, support your local libraries. They support people like me.
Well, we're going to, of course, put it up on our library, on our website, and the link there. And Chris, it's always a delight to have you aboard.
Well, thank you, Jim. Thanks for everything you do, and thanks for bringing these stories to light.
All righty. Well, we'll both be on the Doors Open tours this summer.
We will, and definitely check out Jim's tour. That is something very unique that you'll only find here at Doors Open. I don't think anybody would be so creative in putting together a tour that will help you actually understand your neighborhood. I think that's really cool.
It's going to be a lot of
Definitely check it out.
A lot of fun.
Yeah.
All righty. So at the end of every podcast, Chris, what we like to do is offer a free prescription, fruits, nuts, and vegetables, and unplug your television and take up fishing. And for a truly mindful experience, we suggest that you fish without bait. Do a kindness for yourself and do a kindness for another. Forgive yourself and forgive another. If we're all not God's children, none of us are. Till all are free, none are free. Namaste, my friends.